So when you decide to build your berm, there's two methods you can go with. One is just making a large pile of dirt and then shaping it, which will consequently take a ton of dirt and a lot of your time. And the second method, which I've done here, is just take logs or any backer and then put the dirt against it, and then it'll cut about half of the dirt that you need out. Not to mention it makes the process more straightforward and you can get a better angle. And the water can drain out the back. The only downside to this method is that some people prefer to plant grass on the back side of their berms so that the roots will hold all the dirt together. And obviously you can't do that because there's logs on the back. But, you know, not a huge downside. Okay, so when you lay out your berm, you want to take into consideration, obviously, that you don't want to go ahead and make a turn before you even get to it. And so you want to put the first log, find the center of your trail, and put the first log about 1.5 feet to the right so that you have enough room to put the dirt there. And same for the other side. Now in the middle, you're going to want your berm obviously higher and at a greater angle, more perpendicular to the ground than this side is. And when you're making your like your initial entry and exit, well, there's two different ways to do this. One way, which I've chosen here, is to just make it all the same angle, and it's a little bit easier. And another way is to just have it like gently slope out, and so your bike just gradually turns instead of having to turn it on your own before you get to the berm. It's just one way takes a little bit more dirt. And I basically just took some cedar trees that were on the ground, cut them up and hammered them to the ground so that they're pretty solid. And then I took some more logs and put a backer against them. And I didn't even tie them to it or anything. It's just the dirt, all the weight of the dirt's forcing it against it. And I put in a few like stakes here and there just to kind of keep all, because I had to use some shorter logs. And yeah, if you have dirt coming out the back, what you want to do is just take like the really big globs of clay and fill in the cracks so that you don't have a bunch of dirt leaking out. Now I chose cedar, but there's really no reason why you couldn't use anything else. It's just that cedar lasts longer. I would not necessarily recommend pine, which are these logs right here, for those of you who don't know what pine looks like. And you can tell the grain is a little bit wider out, like bigger spaces in the grain. And then this is a little bit tighter in. It's a little bit more dense. And yeah, and even if they've been on the ground for a while, they're still pretty strong, even though they may be relatively light. Different ways to make the entry and exit to your berm. One way is to make it a gradual slope that just starts out and then tapers into your angle in the middle. And the other way is to make it how I did here and just make it straight right here, almost the same angle as the middle of it. And then you just turn your bike once you get on. And it's a little bit easier this way because it takes less dirt, but it may not be quite as easy to get on for beginners. Alright, so when you're packing your berm, there's a few things you need to do. Don't just put all the dirt that you need down and then pack it, because what will happen is the dirt under the initial part won't be packed as well, and it'll rain, and you'll come and step on it, and your foot will sink all the way down. So pack it in layers, get about 4 inches, and then pack it all down. And basically just jumping on it should do the trick. Or, you know, the shovel would work too, but yeah, why would you do that? Alright, so one thing you're going to notice when you're trying to get your berm at a nice angle is that all the dirt wants to slope down to the bottom. So what you can do is put your foot where you think it needs to be more dirt to get it at a better angle, and put your dirt over your foot and then pack it down right there. And it'll help create the slope, and you can come back and fill in the bottom pretty easy. Another problem that people have with digging berms is that they don't know where to get the dirt from. And usually you can just dig a large hole, as this one here is, and you know, the ground is basically a pile of dirt. And so there's 3 different kinds of dirt that you're going to want to use. First one is this kind of clay type dirt, and what you can do is you can kind of crumble it into a ball, and that's good for, you know, packing obviously. And then the kind that you don't want is the kind that you'll find lower down, which gets kind of sandy. Now if you go about 3 feet down, you'll end up with clay, which is great. And just basically try to avoid all silt, which is kind of sand, because, you know, whenever sand loses its dampness, whenever it's not wet anymore, it cracks, and it doesn't hold itself together. Like this stuff right here is all sand. When you're building your berm, keep in mind that organic matter such as leaves and sticks don't pack very well. Now, stakes are relatively solid in the first place, but leaves will just, you don't want leaves. So another method to making berms which you may want to take into consideration is to kind of dig the berm into the ground a little bit, and then you can take the dirt that you dug out and add it to the back of the berm as I did here. As you can see how that's kind of dug out in a little trench right there, and it'll increase the size of the berm as well as give you some dirt to work with. And you know, dogs really flock to it because it's a really good place to lay down. And you can see here how it's kind of cracked. It's because I used some really wet dirt from in a ditch, and yeah, don't do that.